Here's a video you're going to enjoy if you need to do base molding. Now, I'm going to show you my trick of doing base molding. This is a little mock-up that I made to show you what I do. Let's assume this piece is a long run in your home from where a door is, and you've got door casing that your base molding is going to bump into, and then you've got a corner somewhere down the road. Now, this isn't base molding, this happens to be door casing, but it's the only pieces I had laying around that I could show you this with. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've glued up the corner from behind, and I've put in a little corner brace to hold the piece real tight while it's gluing up. I've glued this piece. So I glued this about 20 minutes ago. It should be dry. It doesn't take very long. Okay, so you can see this is my piece and I can hold it up. It's not going to snap off. Now, here's what I do. I measure the distance between the door casing and the long run into the mitered corner. And I go ahead and I miter the piece. Now, I know that in every house, the studs are 16 inches on center. But maybe the first one that might not be 16 inches. It might be 20 or 16 or 10 inches from the first one and then 16 every other one. So what I do is I find my first stud. That happens to be 16 inches, or the middle of that stud ends up being right here. So now what I have is a perfect miter. I don't have to try using a coping saw to follow the contours of the molding. I've got a perfect corner, whether it be an inside corner or an outside corner, I don't care. Then what I do is I back cut a 45 on the end, not a butt joint. You don't want a butt joint. You want this piece overlapping that piece. When you put a nail in here, it's going into the stud and closing up this joint, and you'll never see it. Okay? There's an idea of what it's going to look like. And again, from this point to the corner, and I make up another corner, just like I did that one, and I go around the whole house. I just got done doing my base molding, and unfortunately I don't have any pieces left over to show you using actual base molding, but this should suffice. It'll give you an idea what I do. You try it this way and you will never do it any other way. You will never have any caulking to do in the corners. You won't go near any other way to do it. It's just a lot of fun, and it's really easy, and it's just a matter of saying, okay, I'm going to glue up 2 or 3 at a time. Spray them or roll them. I'm lazy. I spray everything. So I'll take this outside on my sawhorses. I'll spray the 12-foot long piece with the little 16-inch return. Sometimes I'll go crazy and I'll go to the second stud and I'll have maybe 32 inches hanging off the other end. But that's okay. If I can spray it, I'll spray it. And then I walk it in and I throw it into the corner and it's done. I nail it home and away I go. And the only thing you have to caulk is the top edge along the wall of the baseboard. So that's my little demonstration on baseboard, and I think if you try it this way, you won't do it any other way. And all it takes is some good masking tape. Don't buy cheap masking tape, whatever you do, because you'll be fighting it tooth and nail. Buy good masking tape, splurge, and you'll really like this. Now, as long as I've got this MDF primed piece, laying here, I wanted to tell you another little thing that you probably won't hear, and it can cause you a lot of grief if you don't know it. MDF basically will actually shrink and expand lengthwise. Now, what you want to do is, if you're going to do, let's say, crown molding in your home, don't run out to the local warehouse store where it's really humid inside, or maybe it's been raining, or maybe they kept the bundle outside even though it was shrunk wrapped and protected from the elements. It's still going to absorb a heck of a lot of moisture. What's going to happen is, if you go ahead and you cut some crown molding and put it up into your house, and you've got perfect joints and you're really happy with it, a couple of days later, you might have gaps of 1/4 of an inch in between the joints. The reason is that the pieces acclimated to your home and shrunk. So it's always a good idea to what's called acclimate the pieces you're going to be using inside the home where they're going to be. So let's say you're going to do crown molding. Clear out an area in your home and lay the boards out side by side and let them sit there for 3 or 4 days before you start cutting. They will shrink and become the ambient room temperature room moisture, and they won't shrink and they won't expand because your house basically is not going to change dramatically in humidity over the course of a year. House is pretty much buttoned up and it is what it is. I thought as long as I'm doing base molding, I'll show you all the different things that can happen. Let's say you've got this setup where you've got an inside corner and then a run and then an outside corner, but the outside corner is not very far away. Then you can do this routine. You can as a matter of fact, I just glued this up about 10 seconds ago, so I'm going to let it dry for about 10 minutes and then it'll be ready to go. But you can get an idea. And then the same thing, if you've got a long run from this outside corner to the next door casing, you can go ahead and you can find where the next stud is from the corner. And let's say it's 16 inches away. Then you go ahead and you make your 45-degree back cut, and then you run your next length from this piece. So even if you have some really weird little configurations, you can glue it all up and install it all at once. And the only thing that you're going to be doing is caulking the top edge of the molding along the wall where the wall might deviate. So anyway, I'm going to let that dry up, and then I'll pull the tape off and I'll show you that it's just as strong with both corners as it is with just one. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes since I glued this corner up, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the tape and show you. Another thing that I want to mention is that keep in mind that MDF will suck up glue really a whole lot. So make sure you coat both sides of your mitered joint with glue and then tape it up, and you won't need to put any nail holes in it to hold the joint together. It will become as strong as the MDF itself. And so this is your finished piece. And so, for instance, if I was going to have a continuous run here, what I'd do is I would have back cut on a 45 this end so that my other piece overlaps right where the stud is, and I can continue. And the reason for wanting that stud to be there is because it really closes up the joint when you put a nail in it. Now the great part is, even if you're a 1/16 of an off in your measurement from the back of this corner to the front of this corner, you're talking about putting this corner up, and you might have a 1/16 of an inch gap here. Well, guess what? The wall is going to deviate more than a 1/16 of an inch as you go along anyway. So you're going to be caulking the top and filling in that small gap. That 1/16 of an inch that you filled in where you mismeasured by a 1/16 of an inch is never going to be noticed. So anyway, that's my little tip, and you will love doing it this way, and you will not hate doing base molding any longer. I just happen to be in the process of building my home, and I'm in the middle of a video showing how I'm doing my laundry room cabinet, and I thought this might be a little tip that would be useful for people. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you hate it, tell me why.